All right, thanks for coming back. Looks like a lot of people have already seen the 6.5 earthquake. It's actually the second one in the last 12 or 14 days in Utah. And the one thing I'd like to bring to the attention is the decreased production, the decreased industry lately that's been happening too as well in the last couple months. And this has actually led to a measurable amount or measurable stabilization of carbon dioxide concentration here. This is the Mauna Loa Observatory, and I've showed you this before. And you see here at 415 parts per million last year, we are almost pretty much holding steady with that. And usually year after year, the parts per million rises about I'd say roughly 2.5 to 4 parts per million every year. But at this point, it looks like we're set to raise maybe only 1. And the reason why I'm bringing up this is because I did have this theory, this notion that as we increase the parts per million, that each season we're going to see worse earthquakes as the parts per million is absorbed through vegetation. And if that's the case, and you have a stabilization of production or reduction in production and a stabilization of CO2, I kind of wonder if this is going to lead to even decreased pressures on the Earth. Now, we have inward pressures on the Earth, and there are some theories that suggest that pressures on the Earth, such as from ice, can cause shiftings in the Earth. It can actually cause earthquakes. So my idea was that why couldn't gas or CO2, if you will, cause the same effect? And so there would be nothing to really validate this unless there was a complete stop of production and you had massive amounts of CO2 decrease, as well as less heat generated from a huge amount of population or people. And that case scenario really could not have existed until recently. So we look at this map over a period of time since 1958 is when they were taking actual measurements, and you see it's almost really steady all the way up. It goes up, like I said, about 3 to 2.5 to 4 parts per million every year since they've been taking these measurements. But then you see there at the very top, representing 2020, it's pretty much flat. And I'm almost wondering exactly what this will do on our Earth. Again, pressures on Earth don't just exist in physical pressure. There's gas pressures, and how they all work all together, I think the physics start to get a little complicated with astrophysics and everything, but I have to believe that they are real. They do happen. So we have here ice core data before 1958, and you see these things here where the parts per million are suggested to be at certain rates, and we're far above that. You see the line all the way to the right is way up there at 450, or 415, or past that by now. And then all these areas representing probably past civilization or just past Earth cycles, or however you want to look at it, are they go up to about 300 parts per million, and then they drop. And a lot of people could speculate that maybe there are past civilizations that ran into certain things like pandemics or massive earthquakes or asteroids that would cause a decrease in production of CO2, and maybe past civilizations had industry just like ours. Of course, it's all speculation. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the video, but pressures are real, and I do believe that Utah's earthquake is probably just a precursor. I think it's just a foreshock. So if that's the case, yeah, things could get worse real quick here. And I would actually put it out with May being the decrease in pressures. It's really the top of the area, because about May is when the vegetation comes out and starts to take up CO2. The pressures on the Earth are slightly released as the CO2 is absorbed, and we're going to see what kind of pushback there is from the Earth as we are exceeding any historic data that with regards to CO2. Thanks for watching. A small percentage of what appeared to be Idaho was gone. I remember repeating to myself within thought, 5% or more of lower Idaho, almost as a reminder or effort to make note upon waking. I'm almost sure it was Idaho, and the other states surrounding it.